Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean. I will be your doctor. Prepare to be diagnosed. Read those magazines while you're in the waiting room, because today we're going to talk about a very serious medical issue, which happens to be YouTube transitioning further into an authoritarian platform. See what I did there? It's comedy, everybody. Enjoy yourself. Now, what we're going to talk about today is the fact that Candace Owens and Michael Knowles, and this follows Matt Walsh, have all been suspended related to their commentary on the Tranzez. Now, of course, YouTube has not been specific on the reason why, but it appears, based on the videos that were highlighted, the videos that were flagged, that this is related to the Tranzez issue. Now, before we get into this, before we do a deep dive, I just want to point out that you can support this channel over on actualjusticewarrior.com/join, where you get access to the secret video page, which has early access to the videos.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay.
And I also want to thank everybody who is listening via Apple, Spotify, and Google's podcasting platform. So according to this Daily Wire article, according to Candace Owens' Twitter, and according to her Instagram Live, the video in question, or the videos in question, like I said in the open, are related to the Tranzez, but also, apparently, specifically, videos that show people who have actually gone through the medical procedures and then regret the medical procedures have also been highlighted by YouTube as no bueno content and stuff that they want to take down. Now, obviously, right now at this moment, it is a hot topic to talk about the Tranzez, the LGBTQs, and of course, about anything related to those categories, because it is the month of June. This is considered Gay Pride Month, or Pride Month. I guess they dropped the gays because it's now not really even about them anymore, and thus, you can understand why YouTube is extra sensitive. If you remember, it wasn't only a few years ago when one Carlos Maza used the fact that June Pride Month was coming up in order to target Steven Crowder with a mashup compilation of Crowder insulting him and claiming that YouTube is anti the gays, and that caused his initial big demonetization on the platform. So clearly, if you didn't know, if you weren't catching the hints, if you weren't picking up what YouTube and the corporate overlords are throwing down, June is the sacred, hallowed month where you do not disparage the gays in any way, shape, or form, the transes in any way, shape, or form, and you definitely don't talk about people having regrets based on medical procedures that they had in the past, that they felt like they weren't informed, even if you give the million caveats and all that associated with it, because the YouTube is the rainbow YouTube, and our rainbow overlords do not put up with dissent. Now, the Daily Wire reached out to YouTube seeking comment on the thread in question, and YouTube responded as follows. We removed the content from Candace Owens, Michael Knowles, and Jordan Peterson. Apparently, Jordan Peterson was also caught up in this for violating our hate speech and harassment policies, a YouTube spokesperson said in an email. Our community guidelines apply equally to all creators on our platform. Now, apparently, Peterson, who is on Daily Wire as well, had content removed after this controversy started, but before they got a comment, hence that idiosyncrasy in YouTube statements versus what was initially reported about Michael Knowles and Candace Owens. And it just goes to show you that YouTube is siding with the LGBT mafia in this regard going forward, and that's really what we can expect.
Okay, so just as the title suggests, YouTube has suspended my channel temporarily, and I want to talk about that because it's super interesting to understand that we are now arriving at another globally sanctioned lie, and I want you guys to know why they censored my channel, even though we don't have a full picture. Obviously, they're being intentionally opaque. Mine is not the only channel that was hit. My colleague Michael Knowles was hit, and in the month prior, obviously, Matt Walsh was hit, and every single video that they hit was related to transgenderism. And again, they have very opaque policies.
Now look, I'm going to be 100% clear, obvious, and transparent for you guys out there in the audience, and that is, I have no idea what was said by Michael Knowles, by Candace Owens, or by Jordan Peterson outside of the references that are being put forward by these people after the fact. That being said, I find hate speech to be an absolutely repugnant idea. It has no place in American society, and YouTube often, despite them saying we enforce our community guidelines equally, enforces their community guidelines completely unequally in multiple different regards. One need only look at the language being used by these lefty streamers in comparison to my restrained language and see that they're fully monetized, but if I even play another person swearing, I am likely to get demonetized for showing a clip from their video. So just the swearing policy alone completely debunks the way that they're enforcing this, and this is something that I've addressed with creator support. This is something that I've talked over with them, and guess what? They say, oh, well, you don't have any context in your video with additional more context reacting to their video. Therefore, it makes sense for us to censor you. Don't worry about it. Shut your face. Move on with your life. Obviously, they enforce these policies unequally. Obviously, the Tranzez are allowed to highlight the glories of certain procedures, and Candace Owens and Michael Knowles aren't allowed to say, hey, you know what? In these circumstances, there are some definite downsides. It only goes one way. We all understand that. And specifically in the month of June, for my content creators who are obsessed with this topic at this point in time, you should be extra wary of that. Now, funnily enough, me, Sean Fitzgerald, the owner and content creator for the greatest channel in the history of the internet.com, The Actual Justice Warrior, have a bit of a safety net, I guess, against this, in that I'm not all that interested in these topics. And in fact, I think maybe a week before June, I was like, please stop putting this stuff in my feed. I'm so over the Tranzez. I'm so over the LGBTQ XXIIP being every topic and all over my Twitter feed. I've had enough with it, which is one of the reasons why I'm not interested in covering it. On top of that, because everybody's covering it right now, I want to highlight cases that I find interesting in the criminal justice system. And guess what? Not a lot of them involve the gays. Not a lot of them involve the Tranzez. I would cover them if they did involve them, but I gotta keep it real. I'm not going to cover this trans person endorse this product in perpetuity because I would likely be gone from this earth. Now, that is not a reference to self-harm, to be clear. I'm talking about how I would likely be abducted by all the aliens that we're hearing about, because I would never make a joke in reference to self-harm at all whatsoever. On top of that, I actually have something coming up for you guys in the future, in the very near future, the not too distant future, that may get some of my opinions a bit more fleshed out on some of these specific topics. However, I gotta play it close to the vest, which means I gotta buy a vest, put it on, and play it close to there. But needless to say, I need you guys to be paying attention for announcements ahead of a deadline, which would be next Friday, which would be June 23rd. Again, hold on to your hats, not revealing any information, but be on the lookout for me to announce something just prior to that date that may be happening that you may find epic.
They are ignoring transgendered people that are talking about procedures that they have, and that is what I was showing on my show. I was showcasing actual transgendered people that were saying, I made a terrible mistake, I did this, and YouTube is possessed with protecting this narrative. They essentially are saying to the Daily Wire, you are just not allowed to talk about transgenderism at all, which is a very scary thing, that we are living in a society where you are punished for speaking the truth. Forget free speech. Michael Knowles asked a very important question when we did a Twitter Spaces the other week. He said, forget free speech. Are we allowed to say true things?
Now, I do want to say in this regard, I commend Candace Owens for standing up to YouTube, for saying that she's not going to back off against her beliefs, and for saying that she doesn't want to perpetuate what she considers to be a globally approved lie. Even though we have our disagreements, and we probably have a lot of disagreements, even when it comes to the LGBTQ XXIIP LMNOK community, in reality, I don't think that she should be censored from the internet.com. I know, a bold stance for a right-leaning YouTube channel to make, and I think that the policies in the way that they're being implemented are clearly and obviously tilted in one direction. The insults against Owens are ridiculous. They're off the charts. A Tranzez person would be allowed to say basically anything against her. We've seen left-wing people get away with threatening violence, implying violence, and all manner of other things that would just be completely unacceptable. Even for a right-wing channel to reference in their channel might get them taken down. But Candace Owens talking about how sometimes sometimes people regret surgeries, which is something that happens all the time with cosmetic procedures, is crossing the line for YouTube. And obviously they're doing a targeted strike against Daily Wire, who recently generated a lot more attention for playing Matt Walsh's What is a Woman on Twitter and all of the media hype and pomp and circumstance surrounding that. It is not an accident that these groups, which are feeling the pressure, they're feeling pushback for the first time in years in this country, are striking out and demanding that their social media arms like YouTube strike out against them. And honestly, I just want to add that it's interesting that they seem to come down even harder on issues where most people are at in terms of this country. Most people don't like the idea of these procedures and medical interventions being made available to very young children who you wouldn't allow to drink alcohol or get a tattoo or whatever. Most people don't feel comfortable with the idea of people with biological advantages because they're born male competing against females in sports, because obviously female sports is specifically designed to limit competition in that specific way, and you're kind of undercutting the whole premise. Most people don't want these ideologies brought into the classroom in order to supersede lessons, not just in terms of social science or soft subjects, but in terms of mathematics, to their kids against their will. If you pay attention to the things that people are actually, in terms of the whole country, not just the niche people online who are right-wing that you follow, are concerned with, do disagree with, it's actually the most moderate, reasonable position overall that you could possibly imagine. In fact, I would think that if you were to poll people who are still unbelievably supportive of same-sex marriage and totally fine with adults doing whatever they want on these specific issues, just those people in particular, you would find majority opposition to those specific issues that I just outlined for you, even from the XXIIP LGBT LMNOJ community. Also notable, and I didn't know where to insert this in this video, is the fact that a lot of people asserted that strikes and whatnot never happened to the Daily Wire at all whatsoever during the whole Steven Crowder drama with the Daily Wire, and it turns out that it does happen to them, and those assertions were baseless and ridiculous. Moving on to the other topic. Remember, people who identify as progressives represent something like 8% of the country. They're a very niche minority, and even among progressive circles, there's disagreements and breakaways along the specific issues that I highlighted. Anna Kasparian recently got into it with her lefties, and by the way, they treated her horribly in that interaction over these absurd terms that deny the existence of women or remove the existence of women from the language, and she got pilloried for it. But overall, the majority of the American population is right where Anna Kasparian is at. Honestly, she might even be a little bit further left because she's still 100% supportive of transes, at least when they're adults. But again, even for her and Cenk Uygur, it seems like they're at least questioning this whole trans as athletes thing. Even for them, they seem like they're a little bit put off by the fact that Riley Gaines was held hostage essentially in a room for hours for talking about how she doesn't want to compete against biological males who have an overwhelming advantage over her in the sport that she worked her whole life for. But hey, those are just my thoughts. This is my opinions. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. If you like the video, show me by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on all my social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the Daily Wire getting hit by the transes. Till next time.